So they keep raising the fees and the fines for speeding and stuff to raise more money. Evidently, in some towns, the number of tickets that are being issued has dropped by over 50% because the cops feel guilty giving people tickets for, you know, minor trivial infractions that cost so much. Half week's pay for something like, you know, you don't have your seatbelt on. Okay, well, if they want to make money, another thing they could do, which I'd be all behind, is give people with performance cars who are able to pass a performance driving assessment the opportunity to buy a special tag for their license plate that would allow them to go up to 100 in the fast lane, and start writing people more tickets for hogging up the fast lane, because that creates a lot of frustration on the street. Because I would pay $2,000 to get a special tag so that when I'm on my motorcycle I could be in the fast lane and do over 100 and not get penalized for it. Because one of the advantages of riding a bike or having a nice sports car is you can make good time. Yet, you know, I think a lot of people are gonna say, oh, that's just crazy, no one needs to be in a hurry. And maybe you don't have a life. I don't know what the deal is with that. It's like, you know, the crabs in the bucket kind of thing, where it's like one person tries to crawl out and all the other crabs pull them back in. It's a little bit like that, because, you know, if you want to think out of the box, everybody who is incapable of questioning the system will attack you. So I don't expect this to be a popular video, but why wouldn't they do that? How many of you would pay 2,000 bucks to take your vet or your sports car or your muscle car or your motorcycle down and take a challenging test and prove to them you can ride, you can drive, you can stop, you know what you're doing, so as good as a cop? Because you know what, the cops can do they will see somebody speeding and they'll put their coffee away and package their donuts up and wait, you know, a minute before they start trying to pursue, so then they have a reason to be able to do 150 miles an hour for a minute and get a little rush, chasing some guy down because his license plate light didn't work or something, you know? And they do it all the time. So let's not pretend that speed in itself is so freaking dangerous, because all the cops do it all the time with impunity, just to meet their buddy at Waffle House. So, you know, call it what it is. You can tell how tyrannical your government is by how many things they can do that you can't, you know? And so I think just speeding is one of those minor things. In fact, you know, when I was in the service, I was in Germany for a while, and on the Autobahn, the speed limit was about no speed limit. How about that, right? But I noticed that traffic tended to flow on the Autobahn around 90, maybe 95. That was about it. People weren't always doing 150. Now, periodically, you would get to see some dude in a big new Mercedes fly by you like you're sitting still. You'd see that sometimes, and whatever, that's fine. But my point is that the pace of traffic on the highway, the comfort zone, seemed to be about 90 or 95. That's where everybody wanted to be. And so they're going to set the speed limit just enough below that they can throw out a dragnet and extract revenue from the peasants anytime they want. That's really what it's about. I'm pretty sure that's really what it's about, because if the speed limit was where people tended to want to drive, they wouldn't be able to write people up all the time for going you know, it's kind of like they tell you in school, don't run in the hall. Why don't they want kids to run on the playground? You know, you can't run on the playground. No running on the playground. It's like, dude, why? You don't want the kids to realize they can outrun the fat teachers? I don't know. I think everything is set up so that the intelligent people are insulted by having to comply with the lowest common denominator of everything in society. It's freaking so frustrating. And, you know, I just happened to go deal with a couple speeding tickets that I got. And fortunately, I kind of skated on the points, but I paid the fines. But nonetheless, in reality, when I look at what I did and that I had to pay the money for that, I didn't do anything dangerous or radical or, you know, ridiculous. It wasn't. I was just cruising along on my motorcycle, going a little bit faster than the king says you can ride your horse, and wham, fines. So, you know, it feels oppressive, you know, when they want to take your money for breathing. You're not going to convince me that going, you know, 90 on the highway is super dangerous and you're saving lives by taking a super bike and making the guy go 80, like the fat freaking old woman in her neglected Honda Civic stuffing her face with donuts playing chess on her phone on the highway. I gotta do what she does. You know, I gotta follow the rules that she is bound by because we're all equal. Give me a break. Give me a break. Anyway, I'm just ranting about traffic and, you know, life, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, that's all I gotta say about that. But how much would you pay for the ability to get a tag and take a test and get your car inspected and say, okay, you have a performance car and you have performance skills, you can now do 100 in the fast lane legally? How much would you pay for that permit?